Man, friends, welcome back to Harry 1207. This time we will discuss Dr. Mahathir bin Mohamad, one of the famous people from Malaysia. What are his principles so that he can become a big person? Let's see. But don't forget to like, friends. If you want to be honest with yourself, you have to take criticism, even if you attract adverse comments from others. Whenever I am asked who I admire most among the leaders I have met, I have no hesitation in naming Nelson Mandela. In Asia, we live within our means. So when we are poor, we live as poor people. I think that is a lesson that Europe can learn from Asia. If we keep on raking up the past, you can never work with anybody. You will always be fighting against your enemies, and that is bad. The internet is undermining moral values. Jews rule the world by proxy. Suppose a part of Britain or a part of America was taken away and given to the Jews as Israel. Do you think the Americans are going to sit quietly and say welcome, and all that? They won't. Democracy must be internally generated. You cannot force it from the top, it's not going to work. I don't care how sacred is freedom, but I think the time has come for governments, at least the Malaysian government, to censor the internet. As a doctor, you are out on call most nights, so you don't get continuous sleep, and that becomes something that is familiar to you. So, working hard doesn't bother me. There's no point in treating a currency like a commodity, devaluing it artificially and causing a lot of poverty among poor countries. I assume that people react to things as I would react. For example, if you are nice to people, they should be nice to you. When I was first named as Deputy Prime Minister, there was a feeling of shock that I should be chosen because I was labeled as being an ultra and very anti-Chinese. Being a medical practitioner enables me to get in touch with people, understand their problems, feel sympathetic towards them, and the natural thing is to want to help them. And if you become a politician and if you are successful, you can help them. Malaysia is particularly sensitive. We have 3 races here and 29 different tribes. If you allow people to say what they like, there will be violence, confrontations, and all that. We need stability. I am not anti-European. I have many friends and acquaintances who are Europeans. Free press is not absolute. In this country, we say clearly if you start stirring up racial hatred, then we will put a stop to it. We might even close down your paper, because these things can only lead to a lot of riots and bloodshed. When developing countries go to the WTO and register their protest over things, they should be heard. Their views should be considered by the rich countries. I believe that every leader has a right to implement his own policy. But when I see things that are done that are not right, abuse of power, wrong approaches, wrong strategies, making use of foreign consultants, including those discarded by other countries, I feel that I have to have my say. When you have a prime minister who is corrupt, then you can be sure that a country cannot be anything else but corrupt. I don't care much whether people remember me or not. If people remember, well and good. If they don't remember, it's all right, I'm dead anyway. The biggest mistake that I have made in my life is choosing Najib. Sudden change, even if it is for the good, is disruptive. When you are in the government, you have to demonize your opposition. I achieved too little result from my principal task, the task of making my race a race that is respected, a race that is honorable, a race that is highly regarded. I've had quite a long time in government, and I've learned a few things. I know I'm not popular with all the people. Remember, I am cruel or a pharaoh. That's all right. In politics, you get called all types of names. Doctors look after me. But, basically, I look after myself. I don't overeat. I don't develop a big paunch. I do a little bit of exercise. At the same time, the decay process is through not using your faculties, not using your brain, not using your body. When the planes crashed into the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001, Bush immediately identified what he thought was the true cause. It was because the Muslims were jealous of the freedom of the American people. It was because the Muslims were poor. This exposes a lack of understanding of things on his part. The Malays are spiritually inclined, tolerant, and easygoing. The non-Malays, and especially the Chinese, are materialistic, aggressive, and have an appetite for work. For equality to come about, it is necessary that these strikingly contrasting races adjust to each other. A lawyer wants to get his client off the hook. And even if he knows the client is guilty, he is going to find ways and means of getting him off the hook. In my years, I had the opportunity to observe peoples and countries. I see some countries doing well, others failing, and my analysis of things is that whether you fail or succeed is a function of your value system. In Malaysia, trials have always been fair. Not many dictators announced their resignation, but I did because I didn't want to stay on and overstay my welcome. Affirmative action is not something that the World Bank believes in or promotes. I won't call it UMNO anymore. This is Najib's party. I feel embarrassed that I am associated with a party that is seen as supporting corruption. It had caused me to feel ashamed. It is not true at all that a free market will ensure a democracy. It doesn't. There must be a balance between a free market and some regulations which are essential in order to safeguard the interests of consumers and of people in general. Big corporations don't just belong to one person or two persons but to a whole nation. If you let big corporations fail, then a lot of people are going to suffer. A country without engineering skill and knowledge will never become a developed country. There is no such thing as absolute freedom of the press, not even in the most advanced countries in the world. There are things you just don't say, because it will destabilize the environment. The thinning of the ozone layer is blamed on logging of tropical forests. The fact that the burning of fossil fuels and release of CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, into the atmosphere occur largely in the rich countries are significantly ignored. Planning means looking ahead. I cannot accept this country being destroyed by selfish people who only think about themselves. The Jews are not merely hook-nosed but understand money instinctively. It is always the right of the mighty which prevails over the weak, and that is very primitive. Independence means we enjoy freedom. We are not colonized by people. And we can govern our own country and develop it independently so that our people can live a better life. All leaders must have some power. Without power, you can't be a leader. If India is not too democratic, it will be like China in terms of development. Australia is not a safe place. Justice is the most important thing. In a plural society like Malaysia, you cannot have two laws, one law for the Muslim, one law for the non-Muslim. Most Americans, I think, know very little about East Asia or Southeast Asia. American business people who have been here, they are very knowledgeable about this area, but the average American? No. I am glad to be labeled anti-Semitic. The West only talks about how you can militarily defeat the terrorists, but terrorists are very difficult to defeat because they can appear anywhere. Corruption is found everywhere. I admit there is some corruption in my staff, not me.